Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mental Game Podcast. We are again live here in Prairie Sky Breads downtown Minot. Shout out to them again for letting us come here and do the podcast here. This is our first episode of the spring semester, Troy, 2022. How are you feeling?
Good, ready to get back out and start changing the narrative a little more.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some really cool episodes last semester. Coach Merck and Coach Aldridge, those were great. Logan Kruger, that was a good start to the season, but we're really going to ramp things up this semester, and looking forward to that. We've got a little more free time with not being in football season, so that'll be fun. We're looking forward to just having those important conversations, learning and growing throughout this experience.
Starting back up and getting more people involved again, right? So we haven't done that in a while, so it'll be good to do.
Yeah, looking down the road, we plan to finish the semester with our athletic director, Andy Carter, so stay tuned for that down the road. And then the Student Athlete Advisory Committee is planning out a mental health panel for all the athletes on campus, and Troy and I are looking to host that, so we're looking forward to that. That'll also be down the road. But today we got a special guest. She's familiar with all the athletes here on campus. A lot of the athletes see her every Monday. She's face-to-face. She's built those relationships with all our athletes here on campus, and we're super excited to talk to her about mental health awareness. Joining us now is Dr. Mattern. Hi, Mattern. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for letting me come on and talk with you guys.
Thanks for being here. We're super excited to have you. I know Troy had mentioned having you as a guest, I think, right before fall semester ended, and I thought it was a great idea, and I think it's a perfect way to kick off our second semester here in Minot. So we want to just get right into it. Obviously, you're our team doctor.
Yep.
You come on campus every Monday to meet with athletes for injuries, so you've been with every sport we have here on campus, so you get a lot of interaction with our athletes here on campus. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences here with mental health, both personally and working with athletes?
So for me, it's always been as important as the ankle sprain or the knee injury or what have you. I'm trained as a family medicine doctor, and I specialized in sports medicine, so I've got the two backgrounds. So I feel very comfortable going into this room talking about ankle sprains, and this room talking about some deeper issues, whether it's depression or something that has happened to an athlete. I've had that opportunity on campus. It's sometimes a little hard on campus. I have one little office, and we're running a lot of you through to get through injuries or this, that, and the other thing. But having our athletic trainers there is a great filter, and hey, this is what we need to do kind of thing. So if they have someone that I really need to sit down and talk with, we'll make that arrangement, whether it's come meet me at my clinic or we'll put you last on the list on Monday and I'm going to sit down and we're going to talk this through. So over my 20 years here, I've had incredible opportunities to get to know a lot of kids, and I hope help them get through some pretty difficult stuff. So it's a privilege for me to be of assistance to them. I hope we've been able to help steer them in the right direction, or at least help get them going in the right direction.
And yourself, you were a basketball player at NDSU.
Yep.
Any personal experience with mental health while you were playing college basketball?
Who doesn't, right? College athletes are a special group. It's I think it's a very hard stage. I don't know about you guys, but for me, growing up, basketball was always my fun thing, right? If I wanted to have fun, I went and played basketball. If I needed a stress release, I went and played basketball. Anything, I went and played basketball, right? Well, college athletics is a little bit different, and it becomes a job. And for me personally, that was very difficult when it switched and it became the job. And you've got this time to this time, and you got this time, and all of a sudden basketball wasn't all that fun, right? When you add in all that other stuff. So that, I think, is a very unique thing when something that is so near and dear to our hearts changes right in front of our eyes. And I find that very unique at that college athletic point. So that was my biggest part, was dealing with school. And I was also a track athlete, so I was two-sport athlete at NDSU, and trying to figure out what life was going to do after those 4 years of school. It's a lot to throw all in one small time period.
Yeah, I know Troy and I can speak on that as well. We do a player panel for recruits whenever they're coming to see if they're interested in coming to Minot State for football. And I know that's a lot of one of the things that parents ask you about, like how hard is the transition from being a high school athlete to college athlete. And that's definitely, I always mention the mental aspect of it is a lot harder than you are often told about in high school once you get to the college level.
Yeah, because at college, I feel like it's kind of like high school's a child's game, and then when you get to college, it's kind of like, hey, step below the best of the best, so we're going to ramp up everything. It doesn't matter what division you are, your skill, how much you had coming to college, but they're going to ramp it up. It's going to test your mentally, your time management, everything.
Yep.
It's definitely it's a full-time job, and then you add what some would argue the full-time job of being a student is as well.
Exactly.
It's definitely a balance that a lot of athletes maybe aren't prepared for or aren't given the proper advice or path towards taking that leap.
I
It takes
agree.
a special person to be a college athlete. It's
Yep.
kind of what I've noticed since I've
Yep.
been going, right? So you just can't go to college and be like, hey, I'm going to do this and play football. But you got to manage school because school's full-time, football's
Yep.
full-time, right? Bring all together.
So before Troy reached out to me about having you on the show, our trainer, Jody, had told him that athletes could come to you for
Yep.
mental health awareness or issues or whatever
Yep.
it may be. And neither of us had even known that was an option. So can you kind of go into why you think it's not necessarily promoted as much as everyone knows you're there on Monday for an ankle sprain or a physical injury? Why do you think it's not promoted as much as you're there for mental struggles as well?
I think it's the same reasons on why you guys are doing this podcast, right? We have to be able to talk about this. The athletes that I have seen in the training room or end up coming to me have usually grabbed an athletic trainer by the side and said, hey, you know what, what do I do? And I don't know where to go. And I'm glad that they reached for that lifeline and said, where can we go? Because I'm that next step, right? And I hopefully can help you guys bridge, gosh, what can we do on campus? What can we do medically? What can we do to other physicians? Where do I need to get you to go? And sometimes it's just me sitting in that office saying, you know what, it's all right. It's okay. World's not falling apart. Here's what we're going to do and go forward from there. So you're right. It's probably not promoted enough. I think our athletic trainers have, if they get an issue brought to them, have been quick to say, hey, we got to get this going, whether it's to talk with Troy in counseling or to get you to talk to Dr. Mattern or where do you want to go kind of thing. But it's, I guess it's probably not our best foresight because I don't think of it that much different than I hurt my ankle or my shoulder's sore kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think with mental health, there's a lot of that taking a leap and having the courage to admit that something's wrong, whereas with a physical injury, you can see it.
Yep.
Like, you saw him roll his ankle on the basketball court, or you saw him hit his head and have probably a possible concussion, so the trainers kind of have that awareness. They definitely need to go see Mattern, whereas mental health, you gotta kind of build that bond with the trainer and feel comfortable enough to reach out to them.
Yep. And a lot of times my athletic trainers will come to me, and most often it's in the setting of someone who's working through an injury and say, something's not right, you want to talk to them, right? And I get a lot of those. I get a lot of, they won't talk to me, but will you talk to them kind of thing.
Yeah, and again, it's important to build those relationships once you have that bond and you're willing to reach out and admit something's wrong and have the courage and the comfortability that you'll know this is the person to talk to, and even if it's just for them to listen, it's very important. That was something when we had Merkin on, I think episode 2 of this season, he said one thing that he really wants to do as a coach is have that, when he has that open door policy, like I might not be able to fix it, but sometimes people just need someone to listen.
Yep.
How do you think because obviously you can't be on campus 24/7, and obviously athletics is almost 24/7. How do you think you strive to build those relationships with our athletes to make them feel comfortable reaching out to you?
So I may not be on campus 24/7, but I'm on call 24/7. And if the call goes to my athletic trainer and they go, that's a Mattern thing, I get called. And whether that's Monday at 4 or that's Wednesday at midnight or whatever it is, I get called. So please don't think that I'm a Monday from 4 to 5. That's it, because when I said I would do this and signed up for this, this is, to me, this is more than full-time gig. This is 24/7. This is, I'm the resource that bridges what we need from our healthcare system to you guys, kind of thing. For me, building the relationship part of it, the NSIC only requires a physician for football, right? So I'm there, yes, on the sidelines for football. It's also kind of difficult for me to be at every event because I'm the one sports doctor in Minot. So that means I'm also the Toros doc. I'm also Minot High's doc. We have, 9 area high school. It's a lot of stuff. And with it being my volunteer gig, I need to make sure that my real job is done and I can let myself go do these kind of things. So I do try and get to them. I admit that I may be more at hockey or more at some of the higher risk sports. But I try and get to playoffs if we have playoffs. I try and get to unopposed games. If that's the only thing in town, then that's probably where I'm at.
No, that's awesome. A lot of athletes know how spread thin you were pulled, so it's cool to see how much you're trying to be there for the athletes as much as possible, especially with, we have, 13 teams on campus?
Yeah, each team's got like
406 athletes, I believe.
Yeah.
That's all I know. 406 athletes, which is, COVID has been a whole nother level of, wow.
Yeah, and there's always more than one who's injured during that.
Yeah.
There's 406.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially the football team this past year.
It was a rough year, you guys. I'd appreciate it if we didn't do that again.
Yeah, that's
too. So some of the things that we talk about a lot with our guests are, I want to start with the difference between mental health and being mentally tough. There's a lot of times you see in the sports culture, to be mentally tough, you just got to push through the injury or push through what's going on in your head. That's kind of like the rah-rah.
old school
mindset that people see. So have you seen that kind of be pushed away to where people are starting to recognize like being mentally tough is sometimes admitting that something's wrong?
Absolutely. I think there's levels of everything, right? I'm mentally tough, but sometimes that's over the top mentally tough, and sometimes it's not tough enough. And where do you figure you need to be? I think it's part of our mental health, right? Because we all need to be able to figure out, when do I do best? When do I need a little bit of encouragement? When do I need a little bit of help? All those kind of things. I think being mentally tough is knowing where you are at mental health wise, knowing where you're at or physically, all those kind of things all wrapped into that. We're all not the glamour Navy SEALs on the movies that are super tough and can put their mind away and just do everything, but we all have that in us. We just need to figure out, is the situation right for that, right? Some situations, yes, that's what we need to do and get through, and sometimes, no, it's not. And being able to learn that part, to me, is when you've been able to say, here's my mental health and here's where we go.
So you'd mentioned you've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
Have you seen the change in awareness towards mental health? I know we've talked about, like, the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of professional athletes. You're starting to see it kind of trickle down from there. Have you seen it personally?
Yep, of course, when you get larger scale athletes coming out and saying, I have a mental health issue, right? That, when I was growing up, nobody said that, right? But now when you can go, gosh, come on, here, let's deal with it and let's go with it. Part of that is the culture. Part of that is medical diagnosis. There's a whole lot of reasons for that. I think that the last step is that it's accepted, right? And I think we're kind of at that stage now where, okay, let's go. Yep, let's talk about it. Let's make sure that we can set up how we can help, how we can prevent, how we can go through this with you together and get you out to the other side. So I think there's multiple kind of avenues and angles that lean to we're talking about that now.
Definitely. We're making progress. Far from having it be as equal to physical health, but definitely heading in the right direction. So a couple of campus changes that we've discussed just with past guests and just with each each other. So we talked about, like, it's not well known that you can be sought out for mental health struggles.
Yep.
And I know, I don't know about every team, but I know for the football team, when we do our beginning of the year, like welcome meetings,
Yeah.
they always, and all the compliance stuff, they always bring in the two counselors on campus as someone that people can reach out to. And I know one of our teammates had mentioned that he had reached out to one of them before, but not all 100 and however many of us there are. He's going to be comfortable going to a random counselor that they don't know anything about.
Yep.
But obviously they might feel way more comfortable with you because they see
Yep.
you way more frequently. They've interacted with you more. So would you be open to us having you come in so the athletes know that they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. The only problem is 13 teams, and they all decide they want physicals at a different time. And they can't agree on when we can meet and this, that, and the other thing. And that sometimes gets tough on my schedule. But if it's something that we want to make work, we'll make it work, right? It's a challenge. Well, that doesn't mean it's impossible. It's just a challenge.
Got a ton of those. And then another thing we've talked about is, so when athletes go, I think it's once a year, we have to do the Title IX training. So we've talked about the idea of having like coaches go through a similar training, but with like how to help the athletes with mental health. Is there something we could do similar with the trainers on campus that we do see a little bit more often, like Jody's in the dome every day,
Yep.
those kind of things?
So the athletic trainers do have continuing education credits that they have to get. So a lot of them, within the last 5 years with the rise of the mental health awareness kind of thing, a lot of their education classes and credits are in mental health. So a lot of them do get that through there. I think our issue here is the time crunch, right? When Jody's got 120 of you to get ready for practice, that gets to be difficult. And again, that's just a challenge on how can we better get to Jody and say, hey, Jody, I'm having these issues, because she's going to be okay with things, right? She's not going to say, suck it up, Buttercup. She's going to say, what do we need to do, right? So I think all of us, yes, need to be aware of things and be able to say, gosh, here's what we do at Minot State. For maybe 5 years ago, we kind of revamped our mental health plan. Just like we have a concussion protocol and an emergency action plan, we have a mental health plan as well. So we've all kind of sat down and went through that, and what does that mean at Minot State? Who is the person you call? And be able to have that available. I know we've tried to get that on the websites and that sort of thing, and I think we're waiting on some technical things from the college side of stuff, but we do have that kind of thing. So my big thing is, hey, if you guys go to an athletic trainer and don't get what you need, you got to let me know, right? Because that's my job, is to make sure that we've got you what you need.
And I think it's just that communication and making it known that there's always more that they can find help from if they're willing to reach out for it.
I think it has to do with that more people are saying they have mental health struggles.
Yep.
They're learning from professionals saying, hey, I have a problem.
Yep.
Learning that it's okay to have problems, so more and more people are looking for help.
Yep.
And that doesn't help our time constraint with the athlete.
Yeah.
Not at all. Do the best you can,
Yeah.
which is all you really can do. So just reflecting on the importance of mental health, what made you kind of want to come on the show and just talk about it?
Well, the big thing was to be able to say that, hey, we're here for you guys, right? And please don't think of us just as your ankle taping, knee icing, stretching group, right? We are there to help you. I've got lots of people on my phone that if we need something, we can get something, kind of thing. And sometimes that gets real difficult on campus to be able to use one counselor or two counselors. I have access to many more, and if I need them, I text them and I get them, and we get things taken care of. So I guess, the big thing I wanted to make sure that you guys were all aware of is that we're here to help, right? Please don't think that we're not willing to talk to you about mental health issues. It may not be the 5 minutes before the game and we're kind of grabbing things and going, but we'll set away time where we can sit down, discuss, and say, what do you need?
Yeah, and hopefully with like students watching this hearing that more can reach out to you, right? So
Yep.
see you and more can
Yep.
talk to our trainers, whether it's Jody or Macy or whoever it would be. It'd be a good way for them to say, hey, they're there to help us more
Yep.
than we know.
Yeah,
Yep.
shining the light on the opportunities and the avenues that athletes have to
Yep.
be able to get the help they need is really important. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else you wanted to address or any thoughts you have?
In medicine, we start thinking about how things work and how they come together and what affects this and what affects that. And we have a couple of different models, and you've got some that'll go, hey, this is a biomedical model, right? Something's wrong, here's what fixes it, right? Here's your pill, right? And that, to me, that works for slivers, right? You have a sliver, I take it out, that's done, right? Everything else falls under the biopsychosocial, right? So yes, there's a medicine component of it. Yes, there is a social, that person part of it. There is a psychological part, that person, their group, their peer, their team, what's going on society-wise. So for me, mental health isn't a one thing, right? It's a group thing, it's a village thing. I may be able to help with the medication, but guess what? Even in depression, in twins that are genetic equal, 36 to 37% of them developed depression. So not everything is genetic, right? So I can't fix everything by a pill. I need to lean on you guys and say, how can I help you? And then I need your team to come back and say, how can I help you, right? And we need to do this as a group, so it's all of us together saying, how can we make this work at Minot, right? I mean, we have one team doc, we have 2 or 3 counselors, right? How can we do that? And I think how we do that is by you guys getting more word out so that more athletes are able to talk to more athletes, so that we've got that social group that says, here's what we need to do, and here's we need to grab this, and we need to grab this, but we can take care of this.
Yeah, I love that. It's that team effort, that team
Yep,
atmosphere.
it's all of us.
And to say about building a dam, like there was a family in our team.
Yep.
And we can build a dam for like family as a whole, student athlete body, right, with this, and find a
Yep.
way to get everyone healthy and get everyone back. And it'd be a good
Yep.
tool to use your documentary to start
Yep.
pushing that forward more.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're
It was
welcome.
Awesome. It was really insightful. We appreciate that. Thank you again to Prairie Tech Reds for having us. We look forward to many more episodes this semester and the rest of the season. Have a wonderful night, and roll beefs.
All beefs.